All right, guys, we are live. Best Overall Show's back. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm just gonna check my audio because I always have audio problems. So David, why don't you give me a little? Best Overall Show's back.
Yeah, what's up?
Everyone can hear me. I'm just gonna check my audio because
we good?
I always have audio problems. So David, let me see.
Hello.
Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully everyone can hear you. So, yeah, I'm not gonna talk for a sec. David, why don't you give me a little? Best Overall Show's back.
Yeah, what's up?
Can hear
You're
me?
not gonna talk
okay,
for a
we are
second.
live. All right, so we have audio, guys. Sorry for the continuous audio problems. I'm just bad at the technology. Also, for those of you that were watching the stream last night, I apologize. My computer crashed. I'm having, I think, a memory issue. So I think one of my memory sticks has gone bad. So I haven't had time to check it out. But I think with all of my streaming set up, like when I'm doing like the video and the multiple streams and everything, it's a little bit too much. Even though I have a 32 gig kit, it just basically crashed last night. So in the middle of my stream, and I had to go anyways. As I was telling David actually pre-show, so I'll tell you guys a little story from last night because some of you guys were watching my stream, and I did say that I was going on a date last night, and I was just telling David the story of last night, which what happened was basically so I go on this dinner with this girl, take this girl on for a dinner date, and it wasn't like supposed to be a date. I was like, hey, like, do you want to grab dinner? Like I wasn't like, oh, like I'm gonna take you on a date, right? So we get to the restaurant and we go to this like taco restaurant, this like Mexican restaurant, and she orders. I'm like, what do you want to drink? And she orders literally a shot of like, she's like, can I get, what kind of whiskey do you have? She asked the bar, like the server, and the server's like, oh, like he goes through. It was a Mexican restaurant, so they didn't have that much good whiskey, and so she orders a shot of Jameson, which is disgusting, and literally just Jameson neat in a glass, drinks it, like literally gets the glass of Jameson, drinks it instantly, like the whole shot, like basically just does it like a shot. This is at the start of the meal before we have like the first thing we do. And then I have a glass of red wine because I'm trying to be like somewhat responsible, and I had to drive, so I couldn't get too wasted. And then she literally orders another shot and then 2 more cocktails. So like by the time we were done dinner, like I'd had like 3 glasses of wine with dinner, like small glasses. So I was like, but I couldn't have any more because I had to drive home. And so I'm like, oh, like, well, you like whiskey, so let's go try some whiskeys, right? Like what kind of whiskey you like? And I could tell she's like not into whiskey. She just likes to get drunk, and maybe whiskey's the drink of choice, but like she's not into whiskey. Like she maybe just does whiskey. Like I don't know this girl. So I was like, oh, like I thought maybe she liked whiskeys, like nice whiskeys, and she'd have like a few nice whiskeys to recommend. Nope. She's like, no, I like to drink Jamesons or whatever. So we go to the liquor store, and my favorite whiskey, Redbreast, they don't have any, which I was really upset about. So we tried this new whiskey. I can't tell her what it's called, but it's on my shelf. And we go back to my place, and we literally drank 3/4 of the bottle. And she drinks so much whiskey. And this girl's like 90. She literally stood on my scale. She's 90 pounds, like literally. So she drank probably like 6 or 7 glasses of whiskey, just neat, just basically just drinking it straight. And she was like, "Oh, this is really good. Like I didn't realize like whiskey's actually not like awful. It's." And like, yeah, like I was drinking it like with like in a whiskey glass with like a whiskey rock, right? And yeah, anyway, so we got really drunk, and I've been very hungover today. I had to go to work at like 7:30, so I had a pretty rough day. But yeah, that was my night from last night. So for those of you that are interested in how my date went last night, that was a preview. She ended up going home because she was too drunk, so she was like super dizzy, and I had to send her home in a cab. So nothing too salacious or X-rated for you guys, but it was a nice night. All right, so David, how are you?
Yeah. Hey.
You're back in New York.
I'm back in Buffalo, baby. I moved back from Utah.
And how has that been for you?
I'm back here. I'm not gonna lie. Since I've been home, I've been having the best weeks of my life.
Oh, that's good. So
Yeah.
for those of you that are wondering, I literally haven't talked to David since he's moved, and until like 30 seconds ago. So I have no idea how he's been, and so we're definitely catching up as part of that as well.
Yeah, I literally just got home like 15 minutes before we started recording. I was at a hot yoga class.
Hot yoga,
and,
man. Look at how tan. Everyone, look how tan David is. For
once.
instance, like, so what have you been up to since you've been back to New York? What have you been up to since you've been back to New York? Climbing rocks?
Um, yeah, I did a West Virginia trip where I climbed rock faces and fell into water because the reservoir there's climbing that gets filled up with like 40 feet of water in the summer. So my friends and I like paddleboarded and kayaked to like rock faces and just like jumped off into cliffs into water. That was super fun. And I've been doing like weekly climbing like outside in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I've been really busy just like being like physically active this summer. I started a new kind of concept with my life where I want to like be a better friend to my friends
Right.
and also like it's been really awesome. Like I literally have been like tapping into like people that I kind of knew, but now like I got to know really well, and it's opened up really amazing, beautiful doorways where it's like come like to West Virginia and like jump off cliffs, or just like hey we're gonna go out for drinks afterwards, or like I joined a kayaking group. I
Wow.
started doing like sunset kayaking, yeah, where you go to the beach afterward and people make bonfires and we just like hang out.
You're
Yeah,
real
dude, like
outdoorsman now. Just don't show up in like a flannel shirt and like start growing a mustache, or well, I can see you're already growing a lumberjack beard there, but just don't show up in a flannel shirt and like with an axe or anything like that. Otherwise, I'll be concerned.
no man, I gotta come up to Ontario and do some portage trips with some of our 40K outdoorsy homies.
Yeah, they're all into paintball now. That's the new cool thing that everyone's doing out in Ontario.
Shit. All
All
right,
right, so
well,
let's talk
maybe I get into that
a little bit
more.
of Warhammer, because this is actually a Warhammer show,
Yeah,
not a
that's the
life
thing.
variety show. But I thought it'd be cool to get a little catch up. If you guys are in chat,
Hell
make
yeah,
sure to say
dude.
hello. I'd love to hear from you guys. So I can see a bunch of people in chat, but you're all very quiet. So give us a little shout out that you guys, so you know you guys are here. A little what's up. As always, guys, if you guys are enjoying the content, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube and or Facebook and or Twitch. It's really helpful. All right, so David, there's been some developments since we've chatted last. First, I guess I don't really have any announcements this week, but I do want to announce that after many, many hard and long audiobook sessions, I finally finished Mortis, the Horse Heresy, the latest Siege of Terra book, and we're going to talk a little bit of Mortis teasers later. Sorry, spoilers later, because but speaking of trailers and teasers, we had a crazy trailer for the new Total War 3 today, which you haven't seen, which we're going to watch on stream today and live react to it, which will be exciting because I watched it once kind of half asleep today, and I'm going to watch it again, and I want to kind of talk about it. J Will, Kimbobo, hey guys, welcome to the chat. Brother Tobias, welcome to the chat as well. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Hey.
We're also going to be talking about the upcoming Las Vegas team tournament, and then just a little bit about our recent hobby stuff. So I haven't really caught up with David as far as what he's been up to in the hobby. I know you've been painting because I've been seeing some of your posts and painting in the bushes as usual. But I'm interested to know kind of what you've been working on, especially now that since you've been kind of moving around. So with that said, let's start with this trailer. So I'm gonna throw it up on screen. Hopefully this works, guys, because I'm very bad at technology, as I alluded to earlier with the audio issues. So hopefully this works, and we can watch the trailer live. So let me just get this going here. Okay, so here we go. All right, so here we go. We're gonna. I don't know if you're watching the stream, David, but we're gonna watch it live. Here we go.
Okay.
From the stars came the will to shape fate, hurling this world toward ruin.
Does it pop up somewhere? Oh, there it is. You.
This burden is mine to bear. To offer guidance where it is most needed. To demand sacrifice. I am ruler of the northern provinces. Of the great bastion. Supreme Matriarch of Nangao. Master of the storm winds. Daughter of the Dragon Emperor.
All right. That is our trailer. Freaking cool, guys.
Okay.
So, what are your thoughts?
This is the first time that a game company gets to create the artistic direction of a Warhammer faction.
Well,
Completely.
to be fair, so they actually did an interview. They had an interview that tied into a dev interview with Andy Hoare and Mark Bedford, who are both. Andy Hoare is like a legendary lore guy and studio designer, and Mark Bedford is a concept artist. So all of the concept art and lore and like concept art essentially and stats. They even wrote stats for all these things in Warhammer Fantasy rules. Were actually from GW because Cathay is going to be one of the armies in the Warhammer Old World game, from what it sounds like. So when they re-release Old World, Cathay is actually going to be one of the races. I think, if I understand correctly. And so because of the long lead times into building like models and stuff, all of the development of the Cathay army was basically done by Games Workshop themselves, and then given to Creative Assembly, and they even went so far as to write stat lines, like Warhammer stat lines for the tabletop game for all of the units that they gave to Creative Assembly, so that they could then translate those back into video game stats. So that was really cool. There's a 3 or 4 minute interview with Andy Hoare and Mark Bedford on the website, Warhammer Community. Definitely check it out. It's a really cool, I guess, like behind the scenes look into something that it is really bittersweet for me, because this is the kind of thing that like, had they released when Warhammer was on the decline, the kind of effort and the time and energy they'd put in to Warhammer Fantasy, if they'd done that when it was on the decline, could have probably saved the game. But the problem with Warhammer Fantasy, and it's a whole conversation, I won't get into it, but one of the reasons the game died was because they underinvested in it, and it's kind of a bit of I guess like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you underinvest, so less people play it. So you underinvest, so less people play it, and eventually the game dies. So bittersweet, but I am excited to hopefully see these guys on the tabletop. And have you actually played any of the Total War games? Because I've only played the first one, and I never played the second one, and I'm definitely gonna pick up the third one because I just saw Chaos Warriors on Discs of Tzeentch in that trailer, so I have to have those.
Actually, the only Total War game I played was Total War Rome. I've never played any of the Warhammer games.
Yeah. What do you guys think in chat? Let me know if you guys like the Total War games. For me, it's really cool to see them do this. It feels like I don't know. I feel like of all the Warhammer licenses, Creative Assembly's done the best job of like utilizing their Warhammer license. So it's interesting to see them kind of being able to play in that world that literally no longer exists or doesn't exist, but will soon re-exist when Old World comes out. So I'd be really excited for this old world game now. This has got me more hyped. So if we get a Cathay army, and the other thing too is Dan doesn't like that you haven't played a Total War game. He wants to slap you. The other thing that is cool about this is that the lore is like, it's like, where were these guys when Archeon was rolling in and about to destroy the world? Like, yo, dudes, like, you know, like literally, they're like this. It's apparently the largest human empire, and they had these dragon emperors. Like, they're ruled by like basically these like sentient dragons that aren't like, they're not like subservient. They are like the lords of the kingdom. And I'm like, where were all these dragons when Archeon was roaming about to fucking open a doomsday device to suck up the whole world in a black hole and destroy the world, right? Like, you guys really dropped the ball there.
Sorry, my computer being an asshole. Oh, I see what's happening. Sorry. I noticed that my computer is doing voice to text for some reason.
That's weird.
And I can't stop it. And I've never had this problem before. So I'm not going to talk in chat anymore because it's picking up on your words and my words.
That's weird.
And then it's creating sentences.
So do you think based on the trailer, you're going to pick up this Total War game? Or are you still kind of not a Total War guy?
Me, no, I'm not going to play. I've made a pretty heavy effort to not play video games lately because it gets in the way of my sculpting and painting and conversion time and tournament time. And local community wants me to start playing more games locally, and I want to be able to be there for them because like recently our local gaming community is really getting into competitive 40K, and since I've been home, I haven't done anything yet, but I want to start moving and be active so that I can actually like help them like get ready for tournaments and stuff.
Yeah. Now, speaking of tournaments, I played in a tournament last weekend. Well, half a tournament. And I did. I played
Holy
in my
shit.
my very first tournament since February of 2020, which was the Las Vegas, which is the Canhammer team tournament, which was the last tournament. So basically we were supposed to have a major called Attack X in BC. It was we had sold out as 150 people about. This is going to be one of the largest events in Canada. And basically because of COVID, it had to get canceled. So a bunch of the guys, not me really, I didn't do anything. We decided to have like an alternative event just locally. So it was like a 30-man. We found like a warehouse basically, and we threw some tables together. And because a lot of people were looking forward to an event this like last weekend, and I was looking forward to the event as well. But then it got canceled because of COVID. So we can't have events bigger than 50 people here. So instead we just had like a little 30-man like GT basically, 5 games. I think there's 30 players. I didn't make it to day 2. I went out my first night and I was like, got home at like 6:30 or 5 in the morning. And when I woke up at 8 to go to the event, I was too drunk to drive. So I decided to just go back to bed. But I did have an excellent first 3 games. I played Iron Hands in my first game. I played Brandon St. Pierre, who's a Drukhari player, in my second game, who's actually the one player that beat me in our league division. Excellent Drukhari player, and I managed to beat him. And then I played Alex McDougall, the eventual tournament winner, in game 3, and we played a super close game. Came down to literally the last roll. He beat me by 2 points, so it was a really close, tight game. It was really nice to play an event again. And I don't know. I think what I realized was like how much out of practice I am, like so many mistakes and so many just like blunders and stuff, and like just like poor bad habits and stuff that I've developed from not playing. And 9th edition is its own game, so it really kind of reminded me that like practice is so important, and like playing lots of games is important, because although my tactics were good, like my overall strategy on like what I wanted to do to win the game, that was sound. I made a lot of like small like movement errors. Like I just like forgot to move stuff. I always kept forgetting to do actions. Like I'm so dumb with actions. Like I literally can never remember to do actions, because it's a new mechanic that's introduced in 9th. And I like literally only played like 20 games of 9th, right? So I keep forgetting that this is like a big part of the game. I need to really like remind myself, oh yeah, there's these things called actions that actually like win you the game, because that's like how the game works, and you got to actually do them. And if you do something else, you lose the action, because I always forget that part too. I'm like, oh yeah, these guys are gonna cast, and I'm like, oh fuck no, like they're supposed to be doing an action, or like the whole action economy and mechanic, for some reason, because I'm not used to it, it's just thrown me off so much. So we had a really good game, and then Saturday night I went out with my friends, didn't get home till very late. and I didn't make it to the second day. And there was some controversy because some people were saying I'm a bad, not from the event. Everyone at the event was like, Jim's not going to make day 2. As soon as I was like, I'm probably not, I'm going to be drinking, and there's a chance that I don't make it. They know me, like they actually have a moniker for me called Day 2 Jim. It's, so Day 2 Jim is basically a version of me that shows up on day 2 after I have been drinking. So it's like the version of me that does make it, and I'm usually like very hungover and just like a complete bag of garbage. And so they actually know, like, they're like, oh, like, we're gonna get day 2 Jim. So there's actually like it's a running joke amongst the group. So no one was like offended or anything, but a few people on the internet got upset that I decided to like stay home and not drop the event. And I don't really care. Like I was saying that at the end of the day, like I personally think that if you don't want to play the game, or if you don't want to attend the second day of an event, I mean, or you want to drop the event at any point, that's your prerogative. Do what makes you happy. What are your thoughts on that kind of, I guess, approach? Because I know you weren't here on the many discussions that we've had regarding this topic. And I know I've had some discussions in the past regarding like whether if you talking out games, calling a game early if like it's obviously not going your way, or if you're just having a really bad time, you know, and you're like, hey, you're not in the game, you're like, you know what, you got it. Like there's been a lot of conversation on the channel about that kind of stuff, and I'm still sticking to my guns, which is, look, this is supposed to be a fun game. We have one life, and my approach is I have limited time in my life. Like I'm gonna die at some point, and I don't want to spend it. No, and I'm serious. Like that's just my philosophy. Like I want to have fun in my life, and I want to do things that I enjoy. Yeah. So if I'm ever at a point where I'm really just not enjoying myself, and I fucking hate it, and I don't have to, then I'm not going to. I'm not going to force myself for somebody else's like enjoyment, right? Like, and maybe that makes me selfish, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, like I think players who are in it not having fun shouldn't be forced to like have a bad game with your opponent. And in my case for the event, I dropped because I literally physically couldn't drive. Like there's no way I would have been able to drive, and I wasn't going to try to arrange a ride at like 7:30 in the morning. And second, even if I could drive, I was like way too hungover, and I didn't want to go at that point. Like I just didn't feel like it. And that is all the reason that someone needs to give me. Like they just didn't want to play, and I'm totally fine with that. So what are your thoughts on like kind of the mentality? Like do you agree with me? Do you disagree? What's your approach?
It's like your reason for being there can alter as you're playing. For me, it's like I know I don't really play meta lists, and I know pretty much that like I'm probably gonna lose games because I could have built a better list, and that'd probably be more efficient. And going into my first day 1, usually I have this mentality that like I'm probably gonna lose some games, like whatever, fuck it, like I don't care. However, if like day 1 I go like undefeated, it's like a click, and I'm like, shit, I'm going to day 2. I have to have my A game on, and even though I'm like a fairly casual player, I'd say, still want to like bring my A game. You know, like I don't want to like fuck up. I'm gonna show up to the next day. I'm gonna play my games. If I'm losing my games day 1, like like hopefully I'm not on tilt from like a shitty opponent, but like usually, like I usually believe that like you need to play out your games, and it's more like most of my games I don't expect myself to win. I usually set myself up at like a pretty low bar where I'm like, I'm probably gonna lose. It happens. Right. I didn't write a medal. I didn't write a competitive list. Like I'm setting myself up for failure. But if I'm doing well, like I kind of have to adjust course because like I don't know. Like,
and I want to really
like you get that moment. It's I always talk about it. It's this funny thing. Do you remember the Beastman Codex, the Minotaurs?
Mm-hmm.
They had a rule called blood greed.
Yeah.
I get blood greed when I start winning. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking win the event. Like day 2, day 1, if I go undefeated, I'm like, I'm gonna win the event. And I show up day 1, and I just get a day 2, I get smoked by some person. I'm like, all right, like reassess. Am I actually gonna win my next game after this, or am I gonna continually just lose my games because I set myself up for too high of a fall, I guess.
Yeah, and I want to be really clear because I think in making this point, people are making the assumption that like I go to events, and I like regularly don't finish games or don't play games or drop, that literally is nothing farther from the truth. Like I very rarely like concede early or give up games or anything like that. Like it's very rare. I almost always like, especially if you look at my 2019 season, I played a fuck ton of Warhammer and I played almost every event to the conclusion. Lots of games. So the idea that I'm like going to events, playing like half a game or whatever constantly and quitting and whatever and being a sore loser, whatever, that's not what I'm saying. And I'm not advocating for that either. All I'm saying is I reserve the right to do that. Now, maybe I do it once a year, maybe I do it twice a year, maybe I never do it, but I still don't think that when there's that time when I'm really not feeling it, and I don't feel bad for that, right? Like that's my point. I'm not saying that like, because you know, some of the comments have been like, oh Jim, like you're an awful person because you're going to events, playing half games or half events and quitting all the time, and like there's some sort of like serial quitter. That's not the case at all. I play a lot of events and I play them from start to finish, all the games. All I'm saying is, I think when those times come, when those moments come, whether it's me or someone else, I will advocate for your right to like define your own fun, and if you're not having fun, to not continue that. And whether I'm the TO, and to your point, Kratesberg makes a point in chat. He's like, it's your right. It's a slippery slope to not do things regardless if you inconvenience someone. Here's the thing. And this is maybe me being like, I'm asking too much. If you're a TO and you run an event, right? Part of your responsibility when you run an event is to have a contingency plan for an odd number of players, right? So if I didn't drop so here's the thing. If someone didn't drop, you know, an odd number of players, right? And that one person, say, had to either get a bye, so they didn't get games. So every round, one person got a bye because there wasn't a person to play. You're running a bad event, because part of your contingency needs to be to have a ringer, or you play yourself, or something along those lines, so that you can have those people games. So the idea that me dropping would all of a sudden inconvenience the event, maybe because there was an even amount of players and now I drop and now there's an odd amount of players. Well, the event should be ready for that contingency, because I might drop for one reason, like a reason you don't like, but there might be someone that has an emergency. There might be someone that like literally physically can't make it to the event, like me on day 2. There might be other reasons that are legitimate that someone drops from the event. And if you're not planning for that as a TO, right, then you're not actually doing a good job of running an event. Now, some people say, well, Jim, that's unfair. You're asking too much, whatever. And that's fine if you have that opinion. And look, we can disagree on this subject. Yeah. I don't think that there's like, I don't think this is a subject where it's like, I think I'm right, everyone else is wrong. I'm just saying this is my opinion. This is my personal opinion and approach to how I spend my time. And if you have another approach, and if you value other things, like giving that game to your opponent, even if you're having a bad time, hey man, all the love, power to you. I'm not gonna poo-poo you. I'm gonna be like, cool, that's your value system, and that's the things that you care about, and I care about it. I have a different value system, and we can have different value systems and still be friends and play and whatever. So I'm not coming from a place of like, I'm right, everyone else is wrong. I'm just telling you, this is my value system, which is my time is important and my enjoyment is important, and I'm not going to force myself to do things that I don't like, and I'm not going to put myself in situations that are dangerous either. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And yeah, people get a really bad, like, they think I'm like an awful human being because of a Warhammer. I'm like, guys, like, it's a fucking game. Like, stop taking it so seriously.
Toy soldiers.
Yeah, it's toy soldiers. We're a bunch of grown men playing with toy soldiers. Like, my gameplay and the fact that I don't go, I might leave an event early has nothing to do with like my real life like niceness or how good of a person I am. Like, those are completely like independent things. So Kratesberg asks also
from your perspective. Oh, sorry,
go ahead.
I look at like your life in general, and I'm like, you're like a restaurateur. You have a lot of people that like need your attention at like in the workplace, like because you run so many different restaurants. You know, you have a lot of moving pieces in your life. Warhammer is your escape. It's your vacation. And if you're just like, this doesn't feel like a vacation anymore, it's your right to drop right out, because like your real life is more important than like your vacation time. Like, you know what I mean? And if you need to like deviate to enjoy yourself, then go for it.
Right.
It's kind of like when, like back in the day, like oh God, was it like last spring? TJ Lanigan was getting death threats from people, and I go, TJ's a fucking accountant. Like, do you think an accountant deserves death threats for his vacation game? No, he doesn't. Like, people need to like chill. Like,
Yeah.
when people want to like just like live their life, let them live their lives. That is more important. Like, cool, be internet troll, have fun with it. But at the end of the day, it's like the people that are like playing these games, like they want to fucking like take a step back. Like, let them take a step back.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't think I've ever dropped from a tournament, but like, there's been times where I've had really bad games where I play the game to completion, but I'm just like, dude, like, you won the game. I really don't care. Like, because you feel really like sassy and I'm like, are just being like really mean about like their rules lawyering, and I'm just like, that's how you read it. Like, fine, man. Like, if you want to win by a technicality, by all means, go for it. After I give them like 4, like, oh, by the way, you forgot this moments. Like, I give them like 4 or 5 mulligans, and this person like is still like nickel and diming me. I'm
Yeah.
like, fine, man. Like, you win. I don't care. I don't have enough. I'm here because I want to have fun. I'm
Yeah.
not here to I'm not here to like do anything else. Like, I'm here because I enjoy this hobby. Like, I love painting. I love the hobby. I love the lore. I love the community. But if someone comes in and plays a game that just makes me feel like, why am I here? I can drop, and then you can hang out with your friends and just get drunk and hang out and have a good time.
Yeah.
Like, there's no like, and the only time you can't do that is when you're in a team tournament, Jim.
Yeah, and speaking of team tournaments, I'm captaining a team for the Las Vegas team tournament coming up in 2 weeks, right? I'm obviously not going to go drop the event if I'm having a bad game. Like, I've made a commitment to my team. When I'm by myself, the only person that is relying on is me by myself. But obviously in a team tournament, it's a different effect. So I'm excited to get to Vegas. Yeah. I'm playing with John Damaris, Anthony Birdsong, and then 2 other guys. One's named Robbie, and Mate is it Mate or is the other guy? So we're still building lists. Like, it's list deadlines. I'm the captain, and like we're so far behind, and I'm so busy. And I actually finally feel Chris Haynes, Team Canada's captain's pain after like trying to get like herd people to submit lists and like fill out sheets and all this kind of stuff. So I feel his pain. Yeah. So, all right. Kratesberg asks, he has a question in chat. He says, what do you think of people that don't want to paint their army, use proxies / use proxies all the time, and / because they don't want to? So I want to distinguish those 2 things. So proxies for me, that is not like a subjective like opinion on whether proxies are a good thing or bad thing. Like, if you want to proxy in like a friendly game to try out something, I mean, all the power to you. But in a tournament rule set, right, or in as part of the game, the actual game rules don't allow proxies. So me quitting the game or quitting an event has nothing to do with the in-game rules. There's no rules against that, right? People playing with proxies, there is like rules against that. Now, in a tournament, you're generally not allowed proxies, and in friendly matches, if I'm playing someone that doesn't want to ever have proper models, I just won't play them. Like, I have an option to do that. So there's a reason that tournaments don't allow proxies, right? And so now if one of my friends wants to try out something and like they don't have a model or 2 and they want to proxy, no problem. But if they play proxies for, I remember playing Warhammer Fantasy, and I remember this guy had a Bretonnian army, and he had Lego trebuchets. He had built like trebuchets out of Lego. And I was like, and he used them once, and I was like, okay, that's cool, whatever. But then he kept showing up at the game club, and I'm like, dude, I'm not playing your Lego army. Like, I won't do it. Like, he'd want a game. I'm like, until you buy proper models, like, you know, if you want to play with them once, sure, no problem. But I'm not here to play fucking make believe with your Legos, right? On the issue of paint, same thing. Like, look, at an event, the paint rules, as long as they're following the paint rules, I'm playing them and I don't begrudge them. Not everyone likes painting, right? Not everyone likes like that side of the hobby. I know me and you both love that side of the hobby, but not everyone does. On the flip side, if I'm in a gaming group and I can optionally play different people in the group, and there's one guy that never has a painted army, I'm always playing a gray plastic. Yeah, maybe I'll play him here and there, but I'd much prefer to choose to play someone else that has a painted army, because I get much more enjoyment out of that. Yeah. So that's not to say I won't play that person or I think they're a bad person. They've made a choice to not paint their army, and I can make a choice not to play them. Now, in an event, if the rules allow them to play with an unpainted army, cool, but they lose their 10 points generally, and I'll take that. Like, I'll take that advantage. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if it's just like friendly games, proxy, paint your army or not, I don't care. When it comes to tournaments, though, I think it becomes a very hard thing, because it's like a lot of people are like, oh, it's hard because also, yeah, like events will tell you to have to paint something, no proxies, follow the rules. Like it's not rocket science. Like we all put the effort in to do it. You gotta do it too. However, it's hard because when the IP of Games Workshop increases in like scope, you get a lot of people that aren't there because they got drawn in by the miniatures. And they didn't get drawn in by the like the painting part of things. They got drawn in because like they liked the lore, and then Tabletop Simulator during COVID was a thing. People got really into it. And then like, oh, I should play like actual game. I'm psyched when I see new players come. I don't care how they got into it. But when you go to tournaments, like I pour my blood, sweat, and tears into painting new models. Like I'm literally, I build like whole new units for just events because I want to try something new. And like, I know to each their own. However, it's like I really want people to like embrace everything. It's hard because not everyone is the same mind, which is a bummer. But I'd like to believe that people would maybe find a way to enjoy the hobby, even if like before they're like, I suck at painting. It's like maybe you just need a gaming community that supports you as a painter instead of being like, yeah, you do suck, lols. It's like no, like raise them up. It's hard when I keep hearing people who don't like to convert or don't like to paint because like, I suck at it. It's like I rock climb a lot, and it's like my main jam. Like I climb like 4 to 5 days a week, and I meet a lot of new climbers who are like, I suck at this, and they plateau, and they're just like, I'm not getting any better. Like, why the fuck do I keep climbing? Like, I'm gonna get out of this. I'm gonna back off. I'm like, no. Like, you just need the proper attitude. You need a better community that raises you up. Like, if you suck at painting 40K models, that's cool. Like, whatever. Everyone starts sucking at it. Like, no one starts painting Warhammer models and is good at it.
Right.
Nor do people who never give it an effort, an actual, like, give it the old college try. Like, they're never going to get good at it. But if they put the effort in, like, they'll get better. You just got to put the effort in. I mean, playing a game is playing a game, but, like, painting is building a skill.
Yeah.
Sculpting is building a skill. And, like, you have to put time in.
And what I'll say to that, too, is... Yeah, and just to add to what you're saying, like, look, when you start a hobby like Warhammer with so many different parts of it, like painting, lore, gaming, you might be drawn in initially by one specific aspect. Like maybe the game is really cool to you, maybe the models, the collecting part, and you might not like all those other parts yet. But over time, like if you asked me when I started Warhammer, was I into tournaments? I'd been like, fuck no. I literally like, I didn't like even painting that much. Like I did it because I was cool, but like I wasn't good at it, and I kind of did it. But like in even gaming competitively is something that I like took me time to like right. Like I didn't come in thinking, oh man, I'm gonna go fucking smash face Warhammer. I was like, oh, these are cool models that I want to like build, and I used to like to build Legos and collect Legos. So like I like that aspect of like building things and collecting little toy soldiers. Like that was the cool part. All the other parts of it, I came to like over time. So even if you don't like necessarily one aspect of Warhammer when you start, that's okay. And maybe you'll never like that, but eventually maybe you pick up a book and you're like, oh, the lore is actually really cool. I'm gonna start, and you start looking at it. Or as you get better in painting, you're like, oh, I'm actually starting to enjoy this. Sculpting, something that I hate, but as I've gotten better at it, I'm enjoying it more because I'm seeing some success and I'm seeing some cool things that I've done with my sculpting, and same with like freehand, right? Like these are just like things that I didn't really like, and now I'm like more excited to try next time. So it's okay. And I think to your other point, like if someone's brand new to the hobby, our goal should be to encourage them, not discourage them, to grow in those areas and to like get them hyped about all those things that we're hyped about. So obviously I don't shame anyone that has an unpainted army, but maybe I can help them get it painted. Maybe I can give them some tips. Maybe they're like intimidated. Like I'm happy to always give lessons to people. My buddy, Jeff, like I literally gave him when I was in Toronto for 6 months, I bought a compressor for my airbrush, and I literally gave him my airbrush and my compressor. And I was like, hey man, whenever you want to learn how to use it, I will like sit down with you and I'll come over and we can learn together. So like, and he, I think it's still kind of into collecting dust and storage, but my point is like, if someone really wants like painting advice, I'm happy to like spend that time with them, or gaming advice or whatever. But, and that's just part of like helping out your community. So definitely don't play with people that are like poo-pooing it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm gonna go back to like the beginning of this. Tournaments, paint your stuff. If it's just paint your stuff, man. Like, I don't want to. I'm not gonna lie. I'll be honest about this. I don't want to drive like 4 hours or fly across the country to play some people and have an unpainted army in front of me.
Mhm.
That would just be like insulting to me because like, the amount of effort, time I have to put into to get to this event and prepare for it. I mean, granted, I'm probably there to try and win best painted and not win best overall or best general. Like that's probably where I'm probably aiming for. But at the same time, it's like when you start playing in tournaments, it's an elevated thing. It's like you talk like to me, it's like I talk to competitive video gamers. Like my one friend Raj, he's a competitive Street Fighter gamer, and he talks about how the professional players literally study the frame rate of each character's block to figure out how many frames per second you get once you block a specific move or a specific character's fight animation. Like, these people are really into their game.
Yeah.
And if you're a casual person who just shows up and gets their shit kicked in, then it's like, what the fuck? It's like, yeah, because like these people put the time in. It's like, same for us. It's like we put the time in. Like we put the time in different ways. It might be painting, it might be hobby, it might be, these kind of things. But that's the cost of entry to most events. Just like a high-end Street Fighter, fighting game tournament, the cost of entry is higher. And if you can't get into that first like tier of like, are you even good enough to play in this? Like,
Yeah,
that's the difference. In Warhammer, we don't have like many invitational. But in other arenas of like competitive like gaming, be it esports or whatever, or chess, like there's a lot of invitationals. There's a lot of like you have to have like chops before you can even get into most events. And GW, like in Games Workshop games, like Warhammer tournaments, like the point of entry is like put 3 paints on your model. That's all you gotta do. It's not hard. Not hard to do. And if you keep complaining about time, then assess what you're doing with your time. Oh, I play video games for 7 hours. Maybe pay video games once a week instead of 4 times a week. And then you'll find out that you'll have like 20 hours to paint fucking models. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's the way you assess your life. Like, I literally didn't play Total War Warhammer because I want to paint my models actively because I want to go to events with a whole painted army. That's what you do.
And for anyone that says they don't have time to paint because they're never home, David Kozka breaks that like that statement because he literally paints in fucking the airport and like in the rock. So
paint in the airport.
Learn how to paint literally upside down in a cave from David because that's literally how he paints. All right.
Literally, when I'm in the bathroom at work, I bring this little paint container and I paint like a color on a model while I'm taking a shit. Like that's literally what I do, and that's like what you could do too. Instead of doom scrolling on your phone for 5 minutes, like don't put eyeballs on a model. Like you could do that instead, but you choose not to.
Yeah, I need my creature comforts though. I need my I need my luxuries. Otherwise it's hard for me. My daylight bulb and my special my special paint palette and all that kind of stuff. Okay, Dave. Can we talk Mortis for a sec? Because I feel like I want to talk Mortis.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Okay, guys. So for those of you who have not read Mortis, I'm going to wave my hands like this. And that's going to be the start of the Mortis spoilers. And I will wave my hands again when we are done the Mortis conversation. So warning you now, we're going to do a little bit of discussion on Siege of Terra Mortis. And I will let you guys know. So let's talk about Mortis. So I finished Mortis. So first of all, Mortis is the 4th book, I believe, in the Siege of Terra. So we had, what did we have?
5th.
Yeah, we had Saturnine was the last one. We had, oh God,
Last Wall, Lost in the Damned, Solar War. Solar War. Novellas. This is book 5.
Let me see here.
Book 5 of the series. Not counting novellas.
So we had, let's see what we had. So we had, yeah, First Wall. First Wall was the first one. Was that the first book? Oh no, Solar War. Solar War is the first book. Then we had Lost and Damned. then The First Wall, then Saturnine, and now we had Mortis. There was also a novella called I think it's Wrath of Magnus. That was really Fury of Magnus, Siege of Terra. So that was kind of like the wrap up of Magnus' story. And from my understanding, and the next book called Warhawk, which is coming out by who the hell's the Chris Wright, I think, is writing it. And I read a very good review by Graham McNeil, who's one of the authors, saying is one of the best Horus Heresy books he's read. So I'm excited for that. That's gonna be the next book. So Mortis basically, so one of the things that you told me about Mortis previously was that it wasn't your favorite book, and after reading it, I have to agree. I think so far it's my least favorite of the books.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Worse than Last Wall?
The First Wall?
First Wall, what is it called? Yeah, the Gap Door book.
Yeah, I didn't mind The First Wall.
God damn.
So there's okay, so we don't need to go the whole review of the plot, but there's 3 things about the book that I didn't like. And I kind of got so overall I think it was a solid book. There are some things that I did like. There's some really interesting revelations, I guess is the best way to put it. Although this is spoiler chat, guys, I'm going to try not to spoil everything and be super deep, but there was a few interesting revelations. One being that Perturabo fucking hightails it out of the Siege of Terra like early. Like he literally was like, he's like, fuck this. Horus is like fuck me, and he bounces. So that I did not see coming. I was like, huh? And I was like, what the hell? So Perturabo, who's basically supposed to be running the whole siege for Horus, basically says, fuck this, I'm out. And he pieces out with his entire legion. So that was like an interesting development, because I did not see that coming. And I don't think that's ever really been talked about in the lore, that he actually basically bounces from the siege. Like I didn't know that before. I thought he was like at it till the bitter end, and then only after they got defeated.
No, that's never been in the fluff.
Yeah. So, remember I said I'm not doing deep spoilers? That was a very deep spoiler. So that was one thing. Second thing, the whole storyline with John Grammaticus and Elenius Pearson, I thought that's really interesting. All the revelations, and one of the reasons I like that storyline with John Grammaticus and the Cabal and stuff is because it really goes back to the origins of the Emperor. So if you've read like Valdor, Birth of the Imperium, or Master of Mankind, or any of the books that really explore the origins of the Emperor and kind of where he came from and his rise to power, Mortis is really cool because it gives you a lot more insight into that time. Like you learn a lot about like how the Emperor, you get a little bit more story about the Emperor coming to power. One thing I loved is the callback to the Eisenhorn trilogy with the Annuncia. There's a references to Annuncia, the language of Annuncia, which I think was introduced in the Eisenhorn trilogy, and I don't think it's ever been talked about in outside of that book series, as far as I know. I don't remember it, but they basically Annuncia basically is like the language of creation. It's a super powerful language that is a big deal in the Bequin trilogy. So the third trilogy, it's actually like it's a big central plot point of that trilogy, which is a really good series. And they talk a lot, and it makes a reappearance in Mortis, especially in relation to the Emperor and like the shamans and like how he came to power, and John Grammaticus, that whole storyline. So I thought that was a really cool part of the storyline. And I was interested to learn more about that kind of background into those kinds of characters. And then the other thing that I liked about it is like, there was like, I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing. Those are kind of like the 2 things that I really liked, was like the John Grammaticus storyline and like the insight into the background. And then I just really liked, what was the first thing I said? I can't remember. Perturabo, like what you learned about Perturabo. Here's what I don't like.
Yeah.
It felt like so first of all, we had Titan Death, which was a recent, which was the battle at Beta Garmon. That was the book that covered this massive, like it's supposed to be the largest Titan battle in all of the 40k universe, right? Or Warhammer universe. So we already had a book that was Titan battle porn, right? And Mortis is also like Titan battle porn, but just on Earth. And it's like literally like, oh, here is the most unbelievable giant crazy Titans. Oh no, but they have even more unbelievable crazy Titans. And then wait, there's even more unbelievable crazy Titans. Like the way that they kept, like, it was like these reveals of like more crazy, more unbelievable, more extra Titans. And the language with Titans, everything is a civilization ender, everything is a god killer, everything is a planet destroyer. Like it's so over the top, and like you get really like desensitized to like, okay, we get it. The fucking Titans, they just destroy shit, and they're fucking huge and massive. And but it's like, oh, here is the like Emperor class Super Titans, and then now they have the Ordo Sinis, which I thought was cool actually. The Psy Titans come in. It's the first time the Ordo Sinister, and it's like, is it called Ordo Sinister? What's it called? But it's basically the Psy Titans make their first appearance, and they're like super badass, like super secretive, all like black, like basically they're the Titan like
the Emperor himself.
Like the I love how the Titan like the guy that runs that legion of Titans, he just doesn't give a fuck about Rogel Dorn. He's just like, yeah, whatever, I'm a fucking badass, like I fucking run Psy Titan Legion, and like I'm not scared of you, basically, like, because I have like the seal of the Emperor, and like I'm basically the Emperor's personal Titan Legion. So he just like rolls into Rogel Dorn, but he's like, yeah, okay, we'll fight. And then the like Legio Mortis comes, which is like the big evil chaos Titan Legion. But then they're like, have all these other new Titans. There's another whole wave that we didn't see before, and then there's Demon Titans, and then there's more like it's, and then there's like this, like it's just like it got too much where it was like this escalation back and forth and reveal after reveal after reveal after reveal, where it got really kind of tiresome. It was like, okay, what's the next super galaxy killing civilization ending Titan that they're going to describe, and the crazy weapons that it has, like that literally was like half the book. And I'm just like, I get it, guys, like it's all fucked, the technology, everything's like super rare. First there was the stasis missiles, then there was like the like vortex missiles, then there was like the warp missiles, and then there was like the chaos demon super warp missiles. Like it was like, okay, it just kept escalating. I'm just like, it's getting too much.
Titanicus, you'd understand.
Sorry?
If you played Titanicus, you'd understand. You'd be like,
and I was like, yeah. It's like, and then meanwhile, there's spaceships just like destroying the Titans from space, and you're like, okay, cool. So like it was just a lot of that where I was like, okay, I was getting a little tired of that whole Titan storyline. I get it, the Titans fight. And at the end of the day, like, so that was something I didn't like. The other thing I really didn't like was I didn't like one of the big things and cool parts about the Horus Heresy has been, and the Siege of Terra especially, there's been lots of Primarch action. There's been lots of action with like named characters. Like Saturnine was crazy. You had Abaddon, you had a fucking Karn, you had all the fucking cast of heroes, all the Primarchs getting in on it. Literally, Perturabo has like 2 paragraphs in this book. Rogel Dorn is grumpy for like 2 paragraphs, and then there's like you don't hear anything else from any of the other Primarchs. Like there's literally no other intrigue with the cool characters that I really like and I want to learn about, which is like, what is Abaddon up to after he got raped at Saturnine? Was he okay, right? Because he got beat up pretty bad. Like what's Horus up to? Like what's all these other like characters up to? Like where's Angron? Where's Magnus? Where's Mortarion? Like you don't, like they're all in that story, and we talk about them in Saturnine, right? But then they kind of just disappear in this book. And I was like, well, where, like they just skipped over that, and there's a lot of like regular characters which I didn't mind, but that was like the other thing I didn't like. It just felt like it wasn't like it didn't have enough. I didn't learn enough about the characters that I really care about. And that was kind of a bit of a disappointment as well. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on the book now that you've kind of had a little bit of time to think on it?
Yeah, that book, man, I had such high hopes for, because I love Titan Battle. Like Titanicus by Dan Abnett's amazing. Like Titanfall, or what the fuck is called? Titan Dad? Titan Dad. No. That one was really awesome because they actually got into like Legios and Maniples fighting other Legios, Maniples. Then they got this like whole like, they're like, oh, we're gonna fight like a demon ghost legion of Titans, and it's like when you're watching, like to me, it's like if you had to watch a video game, the last video game I'd ever want to watch is like a group raid in WoW where they just have to fucking plow off like 2 billion HP off a tank.
Yeah.
Boss for like a loot drop. And I'm just like, who'd ever want to watch that? When they're just like the entire like, oh my god, they're ghost titans. It's like, I literally had to read 100+ pages of them tanking all the legions shooting at them. I'm like, this is such a waste of time.
Yeah.
And then like, when the fucking Sinister Legion of Sinister shows up, and you're like, oh, shit's about to go down, and like they literally shoot like vortex missiles into the ground, and like the knight walks into it and just like teleports. You're like, that was fucking cool.
That was cool.
And you were hoping for more weird ass shit like that to happen, but instead they cut away to like the Legio Mortis is now at the wall, and you're like, what happened to all the cool stuff that was happening? It's like you spent so much time with this bullshit fight scene that was so boring that you just like had like the fucking coolest part, and then you just like stopped. And I'm like, what the fuck? You're just a lazy writer. Like that's just lazy writing, and that made me so angry. And I love the idea of Perturabo because everyone's always like, Perturabo always says like, Rogel Dorn, his ego is the reason why he is like the reason why he is. He's like, I'm not like him. And the best part is his little ego forces him to be like, I'm out, peace, like fuck you guys.
Yeah.
Like that's such a great story development and so ironic that like that's a great way of like putting Perturabo as the fact that like the two of those brothers are so alike because they do have such monumental egos. One hides under stoicism, the other one doesn't believe it even exists. And I think it's really cool that both of them, like, they show, like, they got egos. Like, they got a problem here.
Yeah. The other thing, okay, and I don't, maybe you can explain this to me, and maybe this is a piece of, and anyone in chat, if you guys know the answer to this, let me know. And maybe this is a piece of 30K, 40K lore that I don't understand. Or maybe I'm missing something. So the Astronomicon, in current 40K lore, the Astronomicon is required to navigate through the warp to Terra. It's like the beacon. Now, in 30K, from my understanding, there is an and in 40K, it's powered by the Emperor. Like, he's the one that basically powers it. But in 30K, it's a choir of psychers, from what I understand, that powered it, right? Like, they had a psychic choir, essentially. Like,
still,
who
like the choir.
Yeah, but it's also the Emperor that maintains it. Like, it's like he gets fed these psychers and maintains the Astronomicon, from what I understand, in 40K. But in 30K, it's not really reliant on him. It's because even if you think about the Great Crusade, he was off planet doing the Great Crusade, and then the Astronomicon was still going, right? That was how people managed to travel through the warp. So I just didn't understand. There's a whole storyline with the Astronomicon there where they basically retake the Astronomicon. It's been like taken over by some like Slanesh dudes, and some like random Dark Angels drop in and like basically take it over, take it back, I guess. Which I don't know if that's like supposed to be like, I don't even know it was like not taken, because I was like, well, isn't the Emperor there? Isn't he the one powering it like the whole time? So how is it that some demons have it? Like, it just didn't make sense. And then there was this whole storyline with this like White Scar with the baby and the guardsman, and I was just like, I just don't care. Like, I just like literally it's a guardsman carrying around a baby that he found, and it's like them walking back to, it's like literally like their like hobo journey back to the wall for like 16 chapters. They're walking through and like just, you know, fucking like odd couple with this baby, and then finally they get it back to the wall and the baby gets there. I don't even know if the baby survives, but like I was just like, I don't care about this baby. Like, literally there's the Titan killer, God killer, civilization killer, whatever things, and like billions of people are dying and demons are raping people, and we're supposed to care about like one little baby. Like, I literally just didn't care. I was like, this is so stupid. Yeah, but so what do you mean the warp way? Do you mean the web way? What's the Eldar warp way?
So what happened was when Magnus
the web way?
The fucking web way. Yeah.
Brian? I don't understand. Yeah, I think he means the web way. But in 40K the web way exists. It's just not as strong as it used to be. Like, a lot of it is broken. But that's not how the humans never, like, that's what I'm saying. The Imperium never got to use the web way, because that was the whole reason. Like, basically the Emperor retreated to like to Terra, right? To build the human web way. Like, that was like the human web way project. And then the other thing too is like, after reading Wrath of Magnus, with like where's in the whole book, where's Malkador? He doesn't make a single appearance in the book, right? And he's usually one of the coolest dudes. And then like a lot of times, like, just like they're fighting and then a random Grey Knight shows up and kills everyone. That's like cool, like Deus Ex Machina. Like, it's just like these weird story points. So anyways, it wasn't a great novel. I am looking forward to Warhawk, because on the cover is a chonky looking boss Mortarion, and charging up at him is Jagadi Khan the Primarch. So I'm excited for that book. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm hoping we kind of get back to the kind of the characters that I care about, and like actual storyline development that isn't just like Titan porn. Because I just never enjoy that kind of stuff. Like it gets tiresome after a while, listening to that same like, you know, like god killers, civilization killers, world enders. Like everything is a world ender. Okay, like even the medium Titans are world ending, and then the Imperators come, and those are world ending. Then the Emperors come, and those are world ending. It's like, hey guys, we get it. The Titans fucking destroy shit. Like the end civilizations. Like you don't have to say that 17 times for every class of Titan.
I think one of the problems is that like I don't think
So no, Brian,
enough writers.
Go
Is
ahead.
that
No, I was just gonna say, Brian, you're wrong. The webway still exists in 40k. The Eldar still use it, and the Dark Eldar still use it, but it's not as
that's how
there's
it
a
gets
lot of
the
like there's a
wild.
lot of like broken paths essentially that are infested with demons. So it's not as like widespread. But the Eldar still use the webway. Like literally, they have a stratagem called webway assault, and in Thousand Suns can go in the webway as well. Like the webway still exists. It's just like been fucking beat up quite a bit by chaos, and there's like lots of like dead ends and like demon ends, like paths where you go down and like there's demons and shit.
Not to mention the Storm of Chaos. They literally use webway to get back to the moon.
Yeah.
Like-
There's still webway portals
like-
on Earth, on Terra and stuff too.
It's just not as trustworthy and it's not as completed.
Yeah, it's just it's like basically like it's like a highway system that hasn't been invested in for many years. So it's broken down. So it's basically like the U.S. interstate system that's completely broken down, bridges
Montreal.
breaking, stuff like that, right? So you go down some certain paths that lead you into swamps, and then certain paths like very rarely might get you where you want. And like only the Eldar, like only expert people can navigate it now. It's not like it was 10,000 years ago. The other thing too is you got to remember in 30k, 30k is like right around the time the birth of Slaanesh was. It was right before. I can't remember if it was after the Horsey or before. I think it was before. No,
Oh man,
way before the Slaanesh was way before.
Way before the
Yeah,
heresy.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking.
Drakari are attacking. Yeah, Drakari.
Yeah,
don't
and I guess
exist
like
until
there's
afterwards
Slaanesh in 30k, so that would have been way before. But so I'm wrong there. But I guess in my head I was like, well, the Eldar are still, they're basically in decline at the moment, and they're kind of tucking their tails between their legs trying to recover from that incident still, because it's still fairly like in galactic scales, it's still fairly recent. No,
Mhm.
maybe not. Okay, anyways.
I think. I said that.
All right, I'm
So what I
raising
was
my
saying
hands.
earlier is I
So if
feel
you've
like-
been doing out and for the 30 minutes
Yeah,
of spoilers, you
stop.
can come back. I don't think anyone cares. All right.
I feel like-
What are you working on right now, David?
Oh, I just want to say one thing really quick about
go ahead.
the 30k, like the Siege of Terra. Games Workshop, the Black Library, they don't employ enough writers who can can effectively create scope, like large scale scope. And I think when they're invited into this inner circle to create this finale, they are not thinking about like the fact that they're capable of writing it. They just want to be part of it. I think a lot of writers don't know how to encapsulate the scope of the narrative they're given.
Mm.
In that book, like I understand the contrast of having like a space marine carrying around a baby and a wounded soldier, and then the next chapter is like battle titans. Like great if you can create a sense of contrast between like each person, from a space marine to a soldier to a fucking baby, is as pivotal as a titan battle.
Mhm.
That's great. But if you can't successfully do it, don't fucking do it. And this writer couldn't do it. He couldn't
Right.
pull it off. It really didn't. It felt disjointed, and it felt like really like. Honestly, I just wanted to see fucking Titans explode each other. Like there's so many cool things that could have happened. Like in Titan Death, cool shit happened. Like they could have done it. They just chose not to. It got
Yeah.
lazy. Like it's like an off-screen death. That's what I felt. I felt like every cool thing was an off-screen death that they could have put in the book, and instead they filled it with like walking with a baby and a fucking crippled space marine.
Like-
I don't know. It was just stupid.
I mean, they should. I'm surprised they didn't send out Sanguinius. He's fucking killing Titans in
Yeah,
Titan Death. Like, hey,
It just blows
it's
him
like-
up with his
it would have
spear.
been like I can see it now. It's like, and the like chaos rolls out their like last super ultra like level titans that are like demon ghosts infected with Primarch blood, and then Sanguinius is the next level like escalation, and then he comes out and like it was like that level of like, it was almost like comedic at that point, like how much like
Yeah.
here's the
got
new
stupid.
like legion that no one ever, that was secret, that no, like it's like every, it was like
Episode of Dragon Ball Z.
it was like basically it felt like Dragon Ball Z. It was like everyone gets beat up and then they go power up and then come back with like new secret abilities, and it's like, okay guys.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say too, like the other storyline that I did actually slightly enjoy was the storyline with who's the Remembermancer and the Selenar chick, and like they're like basically so just to give you guys some insight, there's a storyline where you basically
Keeler?
Euphrates Keeler. So the Emperor as a god is not a thing yet, but like you see obviously the starts of it in throughout the Horus Heresy, like this idea of the Emperor's deity, and like you actually start to see them try to create that, because they basically say without like spelling it out for you, that belief in the Emperor is actually helping fight the demons, and they're noticing that when people are praying to the Emperor or believing in the Emperor, that it's actually helping repress the like chaos, like basically brain tumors that people are getting, and people are going crazy from the chaos influence, and they're finding that people that are like more believing in the Emperor are more resistant to that. They actually like, they basically say that, and then they're like, okay, well, we've noticed that when people are like praying to the Emperor, they're more resistant to this like chaos like influence, and so we're gonna go and like try to spread this idea that the Emperor's a god, even though we know it's a lie. Like they literally say that because there's a practical benefit to it for the soldiers, which is it helps them fight off this kind of chaos influence. And there's a whole plot line of like them trying to basically do that and create that like I guess point in the storyline where the Emperor becomes like, they start pretending the Emperor's a god. And the cool thing about the warp is it's like, and just like it's the same way the orcs work, right? Like they believe in something, and because of the way the warp reflects reality, that belief actually like is a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you're seeing now that like the Emperor wasn't a god, but now he kind of is a god, because people are starting to believe he's a god, and if enough people believe it, it strengthens his like psychicness in the warp, and then that grows his like, you know, psychic presence or his warp presence, and then he's able to like protect people better. So I thought that was a cool, I like how they like know that it's a lie, but they're like, fuck it, we're just gonna do it anyways, because it's like there's a real world application for us pretending that the Emperor's a god. Like there's actually like a benefit.
I actually, you know, what's really cool is I was just thinking about too is in Lost in the Damned, I think it is. There's a period of time in the book where like the custodes are like trying to figure out like why these demon incursions are happening in these human camps. It's because they are praying to the Emperor, and because they're creating like an alternate like repulsion of the warp. It's actually luring the warp in.
Yeah.
And so it's strange. Like each author is like kind of like taking their own liberties to it.
Yeah, Brian says something in chat. Isn't that a chaos god trait? No. So the way that the warp works in general is that people's real world emotions, whether for good or for ill, are reflected, and when enough of that emotion basically coalesces, that's what the demons are and the gods are. So Khorne, Slaanesh, Nurgle, and Tzeentch are reflections of humanity's, mostly humanity. Some other races I think are influenced by chaos, but we don't learn much about them. It's mostly humanity's reflection in the warp is what creates those powers, those gods. The Emperor, because it's very similar. If enough good people believe in the Emperor, that's what gives him his power. But he's also a warp entity, essentially, right? He also, like, all humans exist in the warp unless they're psychic blanks. And so if enough people believe in you, you're essentially your mirror in the warp. So the Emperor's mirror in the warp in this case has a lot of power and has godlike powers because so many people believe in him. And that's actually why if you catch the through line for the Cabal storyline through the Horus Heresy, their plan is to let Horus win. All of the humans basically wipe themselves out. And because they all wipe themselves out, there's nothing left to fuel the chaos gods. So they think the ultimate way to beat chaos is by actually letting humanity basically die out. And that will actually, it'll essentially chaos will extinguish itself because there'll be no one left to, or very few people left to actually power the gods. So the fact that humanity exists actually is what creates the chaos gods. That's kind of the craziness about the like it's kind of like you can't, and that's why the Emperor wanted to create a race of, like, he wanted to get rid of all the psychers, because the psychers are extra and kind of turn humanity into a race of psychic nulls. That was essentially his goal, because he knew if he did that, that would also extinguish the chaos gods. If all of humanity were essentially nulls, or psychic blanks, except him, he would be like the ultimate power, because they wouldn't feel the chaos gods, but he'd still have like their thing, right? So it'd be like, anyways, that's a whole, we could talk about that forever. So, anything else? Any final thoughts on Mortis there, David, before we move on?
Dude, I could like go on for ages about how much I was disappointed by that book. Not as bad as First Wall, but I will say though, I read a really cool short story omnibus, like with Sons of the Emperor, it's the newest one. And there's a really awesome short story about Nurgle and the Death Guard, and how the Death Guard are like, holy shit, like it goes in the perspective like it's like apothecary and this one soldier, one legionary, and how like they're like walking up to the trenches in like Terra, and they're talking about like flashing back to like when they started noticing that they couldn't stop the change from happening, and how the one legionary was talking to like Mortarion, and it's a really good, like I feel like it's a good stepping stone to understand like how the Death Guard came to be like embracing of Nurgle, because they're just like, I don't know, like also it's like the hard. I thought it was a fascinating short story. If you have the time to read it, it's pretty well worth looking into. There's a really cool short story in that about Alfarius being interviewed by. He has a council. This is actually really cool. Alfarius has a council of Alpha Legionnaires, like just random ones. And whenever they go through like a mission or a campaign, he literally has to sit down and be like interviewed and critiqued by his like baseline Legionnaires.
Yeah.
And the whole short story is saying how the way he conducted a campaign alongside Gilliman, and how Gilliman told him like his way of conducting war was wrong and how it could have been done better. And then it shows like Alfarius defending his case as to why he committed his campaign the way he does, and you have these like baseline legionnaires like telling him like, I think you did this wrong. Like, what about Gilliman's side of things, playing devil's advocate?
Yeah,
it's really fascinating.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I'm starting to like get a little bit intimidating because I have an Audible subscription, but because I've been slow with the audiobooks, I now have So I have the entire Fabius Bile trilogy to read. I have Armin, 2 books in the Armin trilogy to read. Luther, First of the Fallen, Godblight, which is the 3rd in the Dark Imperium trilogy. I just picked up Fulgrim with my latest sub, so I have quite a few books to catch up on. Probably at least like 60-70 hours of audiobooks, so I'm definitely like behind on that, so no more audiobooks for a while. Brian, you mentioned something. What's the other god? I think you're thinking what was the other chaos god they had in like fantasy is not Malice. There's like there's like
so many memes.
There's like if you look at the old Slaves to Darkness.
What's the hipster chaos god meme? That's
Malal, that was his name.
Malal, yeah.
But if you look at the old Slaves to Darkness book and Lost and the Damned, there's actually like a bunch of minor chaos gods essentially, and there's lots of like minor chaos gods in the warp that are like not the major ones, that are kind of fueled by their own little like emotional, pockets and stuff. So.
Oh, Brian, if you're wondering what that book was called, it's called Blood of the Emperor. It's got a horse on the front. It also has a horse origin story in the first book is a horse.
I don't know, like
actually kind of cool.
So like I don't know if it's still canon, but like things like Hashut in fantasy, Hashut, the Horn Rat, Malal, these are all like minor chaos gods. They're technically chaos gods. They're not the main chaos gods, but they're essentially chaos. They're gods that exist in the warp that have essentially similar like abilities as the chaos gods, just not as powerful, and they maybe don't. They have different, and then some of the like good. Well, I think Malal's like, so, I don't know, man. A lot of this background with the old chaos gods and like the minor ones is like older fluff, and a lot of that's been retconned. So I'm not sure what exists these days, but that was like the old background from like 2nd edition, 3rd edition, and a lot of it's been retconned basically. Also, Neon, thanks so much for the subscription, man. I really appreciate it. So David, what have you been working on as far as models? Because I have been working on my Thousand Suns. So right now I'm working on.
Nice. I
I
noticed.
have let me see if I can pull up my light here. This
Oh, I
is
like
a
where that's going. I like his range of
let me see here.
motion.
Go. So this is no, that's not actually any better. This is basically Ammon, Magister Ammon from 30k. I've given him a staff and a Kopesh, so he's going to be a Exalted Sorcerer on disc. And I've finished his disc, just here. So I'm hoping to basically finish this next week, and they're going to go mounted on top of each other. I also just finished like another 5 unit of rubrics that's on my Instagram, and my a bunch of my Thousand Sun stuff I've just been working on. So what have you been working on?
Well, I have these 4 Guitar Rangers to finish. All I gotta do is finish highlighting their cloaks, doing some freehand work, weathering all 4 of them and basting them with extra tufts, and then they'll be done. And I'm really excited about that because then that means I'll have 18 stupidly expensive converted Guitar Rangers done, and I only have 2 left to convert, which is 1 more Transonic Arquebus and 1 more, and just an alpha.
Speaking of freehand, I was thinking of doing some freehand on the cloak here because it's quite blue and plain. So I'm gonna paint this model, be very happy with it, and then probably ruin it with some freehand. But that's kind of part of the like part of the experience. That's cool. And have you got to? I mean, you've been really busy the last little while, so I assume you haven't been playing any games or anything like that.
So when I was in Utah, it was really hard for me to find games. Oddly enough, it was really hard because the community. So I didn't really understand how Mormons work, and Mormons don't like. Yeah, I know Mormons in New York, and they seem pretty normal. But when I was in Utah, I met a lot of. Like, there's gonna be 1 Mormon in chat, and they're gonna be like, "Fuck you," or sorry, they're gonna be like, "F you, you Gentile." That's what they'll say to me. But I had a really hard time because the community of gamers other than the 30k community, it was really rad. Majority of the 40k players I had to deal with were Mormon, and they didn't want to play against me.
Right.
And so it was really hard for me to find games. And I met this one guy from Pennsylvania who just got there for grad school. And him and I started playing games. So since I've been home, I haven't played any 40k. So almost a month of no 40k. But when I was in Utah, I did play some pretty fun games. I think I zeroed in on the list I want to play. Lucius is kind of boring for AdMac, honestly. There's so many defensive buffs you can put. And the FAQ really worked its way towards debuffing that Forge World in general, but it's kind of boring. I don't like playing it. Even though Solar Flare and Deep Striking fucking fight bots, hilarious. I like the thing too about I mentioned in our podcast a while ago is that I don't like the fact that there's so many keywords you have to remember, stratagems and whatnot, and auras. I just got sick of playing an army where I just tripped over myself a lot because I'm pretty casual as a player, though I do like nuance and intricacy.
Mm-hmm.
When you play Metallica, a lot of strats, a lot of the warlord traits, they are just they don't affect keywords mostly.
Yeah.
So playing a Metallica army is actually really fun because you don't have to trip over yourself as much. And you get a whole nother campaign book of strats and warlord traits and relics that are all really freaking awesome. So I prefer doing that.
Cool.
So I gotta get on the waiting list for the boys. CT in November because I did not sign up for that.
Didn't they?
I didn't know.
I forgot what's happening. I couldn't remember if it was. I remember reading
sold
something.
Out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. I thought about maybe coming up for a stud and scrub in Ontario, but I'm just not feeling it. There's one event here called Kippers Melee in October. I'm going for the LVTT in 2 weeks. That should be fun. And then outside of that, I don't think outside of LVO I'll travel. Unless it's local. So. I just don't want to invest that kind of money and time right now. And just with the state of the game and also just with COVID and stuff. So it's too much going on.
So Jim, when is Stud and Scrub?
I think it's October 23rd and 24th. And yeah, October 23rd and 24th.
Damn it.
Which is the week after Kippers. So I think I'm going to just go to Kippers, which is in Victoria, which is across the water. But that's going to be probably GT status. I doubt it gets major Maybe it gets major, but like it'll be like a 60-person major, just barely, if it does.
I feel like I'm gonna go to Stud and Scrub, go across the border, get swabbed in the brain, and then have Devin Swan just like fucking curb stomp
I'm
me.
actually playing Devin tomorrow night on TTS, Team Canada
Yay,
practice,
boy!
1,000 Suns mirror match. So we're doing some scrums. Team Canada for the WTC is doing some scrums internally with the team. So we've created some little teams inside with the applicants. And so I'm playing him TTS 1,000 Suns mirror match on TTS. So if you guys are interested in me streaming it, maybe I'll stream it, but I don't know. I just find TTS a little bit boring to watch, so I usually don't bore people with it. So
yeah,
but yeah,
you have to understand, man. Like I miss playing 40K with all my. I miss playing 40K with all my Canadian friends because I live like literally like 15 minutes from the border. And I'm hoping that I can come out to some Canadian tournaments soon. I mean, like now I have no excuse other than the fact that like every weekend I'm like either like climbing or like road tripping to go hike somewhere.
yeah.
But I need to start taking time to play 40K when the weather starts getting crappy because I miss it so much. Because one of the things about coming home is like embracing like good friends and like being there for them. And all my Canadian friends out there in Ontario, like I miss playing against you guys, getting drinks, hanging out, and just shooting the shit. And like hopefully we can do that more so in the near future.
Yeah, come visit me in Vancouver, man. You guys got a place here. There's lots of good rock climbing too.
Yeah.
The Squamish Chief. I don't know if you know about the Chief, but there's a ton of rock climbing here.
Dude, Squamish is the Yosemite of fucking Canada. It's amazing.
Yeah, man. I got some rock climbing buddies too. I can hook you up with.
Okay, I would be definitely down for that.
Well, it's getting cold now. It's all wet and rainy now, so maybe next summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
all right, man. Well,
yeah, man.
It's been a good show. Good catching up. We will probably maybe back next week. We'll see where we'll figure it out. We're kind of doing the show every other week. We're not trying to take it too serious, but I think I'm going to try to do an episode of Politics and Plastic next Tuesday, but maybe we'll do best overall show if there's time. I am not going anywhere this weekend, which is a huge like shocker because last few weeks like I've been away almost every weekend the last like summer, but so now that the weather's gotten shitty, I'm home, which means just means more hanging out, more painting, and hopefully I'm kind of looking forward to the fall a bit because I had such an aggressive summer of going out and camping and like out of town all the time, and I'm kind of looking forward to like being cozy and staying in and painting in the rain and stuff like that, to be honest. So
I'm like so tempted. I'm like trying to get back into 40K. There's a 40K 1K tournament in Buffalo this weekend at Harlequin Hobby, and I'm like, I could do that, or I got invited to go party on a boat, and I'm like, and also doing sunset kayaking, and then we're having to put in like, do I play 40K or do I like do all these other things? And I'm like,
now you know the like the duality and the like difficulty of my life too, because literally I like that was me on Saturday. I was like, do I go out and hang out with girls and friends and have so much fun and maybe don't go to play 40K on Sunday, or do I abandon them all to play 40K? And now that I'm like there's events, there's also social events the same night. So it's like that has literally been the struggle of my summer, which is like so much social stuff happening and then also trying to be hobbyist. And it's been really tough to like balance the two. So all right, man. Well, good luck. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Brian and Nyan, thanks guys for engaging in the chat, and we appreciate you guys' questions. I enjoyed doing the show. So thanks for listening. So we'll see you guys. I think I'm back on Thursday with Thursday I'm watching a movie. I don't even know what's happening Thursday. There's going to be a hobby and chat, and maybe I'll stream tomorrow night, and then check the stream schedule. It's up on the YouTube channel and on my Discord. So make sure to join the Discord, guys. It's not that like active, but I post the stream schedule there and any other kind of notes and things happening. So the link's down below in the chat. So